So I guess this is technically my first horror game, possibly, maybe in the traditional sense, where the first one I looked at was an indie RPG maker game, the second one being a collectible platformer with way too many variation in gameplay styles.
Also, side note, yes, I'm aware I forgot about hysteria mode right after I uploaded the video, and I'm sorry about that, but I'm only human, okay.
But Bendy, well, I've been following this little dancing demon since he first made his debut after the lovely Markiplier covered him. Then, as the game would release more episodes, I did give it a try around the time the second chapter came out. I would watch the game theories that MatPat put up, which, yeah, did kind of spoil it for me a tad, but hey, that was my own dumbass fault, I know, but then it kind of fell off my radar, thinking I'll give it a chance when the full game comes out, and until this review, I never played the full thing. I had at one point had the physical PS4 copy in my possession that was released thanks to the Rooster Teeth guys. Thought that was pretty cool, but I didn't then, and it wasn't my copy anyways, and I figured I would check it out when the time was right. Well, the not-sequel Bendy follow-up game is coming out here shortly, and at the time of writing this, who knows, maybe it's out by the time this goes up. Okay, let's get this out of the way. So, Bendy and the Ink Machine is a first-person puzzle action horror game created by Kindly Beast, formerly known as the Meatly Games, and Joey Drew Studios, the fictional animation team that did the cartoons in the game, both in-game and real life. Kind of meta, I can appreciate that. But Bendy was an interesting idea for me. It was set in a failed animation studio done in the same style as the old Warner Brother cartoons. I mean pre-Bugs Bunny era and the old Betty Boop cartoons. Can tell that she was a major influence for sure. But let's talk about the story. Now, I'm not going to try and delve into the whole speculation story the same way the Five Nights at Freddy's does. I'm a Kingdom Hearts fan. I have my own demons to deal with there, thank you. So I'll just be looking at what's on the surface level. I'll let other people take on that challenge. The game was released in a chapter-like setting, but since the initial 2017 release all the way up to the final release in October of 2018, they are all in one complete package. For this review, I'll be looking at the original Steam cut of the game since it's the only one I own at the moment. So let's start up the machine with Bendy and the Ink Machine. The game begins with us playing as Henry, a former member of Joey Drew Studios, revisiting the old animation studio where he was once the original creator of Bendy and some of the other fictional characters. It's stated at some point he left and started a family before Joey Drew Studios became huge. Henry lets us know that they've definitely expanded since he had last been here. Joey Drew inviting us back here and had told us that he had wanted to show Henry something and to come back to the old studio. Henry assumes that he is looking for the ink machine and finds the 6 items to start the ritual needed to begin to power the thing up. When he goes to the ink machine room, we get jump scared by an ink demon Bendy and the whole place starts to flood with ink. We then decide to turn tail and get the hell out, but the floor near the exit gives way and we fall deeper into the studio's basement area, where we find an axe to break down the wooden boards and to turn off the overflowing ink. We then make it to some ritual room only to faint seeing images of the ink machine, a wheelchair, and then ink bending, ending chapter 1. After waking back up, he grabs his axe looking for a way out, eventually reaching the music department. Where he searches for a way out, you come across these ink creatures known as searchers that, well, not really scary, sure, when they pop out and you don't notice them, the game doesn't convey them as much as a threat with the axe killing them in one hit. All they do is swing at you, doing some damage, but it's really easy to kill them before they get the chance to. Henry then makes his way into the office of fan favorite Sammy Lawrence, the studio's music director, but when we get the ink drained, we are attacked by Sammy, whose body looks to be completely covered in ink, which, fun fact, he used to be a lot more slimmer in earlier builds, but long bottom into the physique that we see in the final release. Apparently he was going to sacrifice us to Bendy in order to become human again, but before he does so, it's presumably killed by the ink demon. We then free ourselves from the restraints and flee the studio and lock Bendy behind a door, where we come across a living Boris. Chapter 3 begins in Buddy Boris' safe house quarters. Some time has passed, who knows how long. When we try to leave, we notice the entrance is locked and Boris has the lever and will let us go if we make him some delicious 30-year-old, totally still fine bacon soup. After making the soup, you and Boris make your way through the toy department and come across another ink creature, Twisted Alice, who's presumably Susie Campbell, the original voice actor for Alice Angel. We are then tasked by the demonic lovable angel to perform tasks for her, and in doing so she will promise a way out, and not just killing us, if we are a good little delivery boy. I say original actress because as we perform tasks we find these audio tapes through the areas, and these are in every chapter by the way, that give the game a little bit of backstory and lore when listening to them. Apparently after a while, Alice Pendles replaced Susie as the voice actor, and she's clearly not too happy about it still. Going back and forth doing our tasks, we have to hide from Ink Bendy and the projectionist, this thing with an old school movie projector on his head, supposedly Norman Polk. After finishing our errands, we head to the lift to escape with Buddy Boris, but Twisted Alice loses her collective shit and forces it to crash to the bottom, and she pulls Buddy Boris into the darkness. We then leave the now dysfunctional lift, and Henry goes searching for Buddy Boris, and we see these disturbing creatures referred to as the Lost One, ink creatures with no hostility, and discover that Joey had been planning to open a Disney-level style theme amusement park called Bendy Land, with a famed ride designer known as Bertram Pledmont. Henry comes across a warehouse of abandoned carnival games, rides, and props from the planned park. In fact, apparently there was going to be animatronics, and if FNAF is anything to go by, I'm sure this would have been an interesting fucking place to be. Could you imagine a Bendy theme park with demonic animatronics? Now that'd be cool. We then hear Twisted Alice over the intercoms letting us know if we want to save Boris, we need to get the haunted house up and running again. After a massive amount of different hoops we had to jump through, we make it to the haunted house where Buddy Boris greets us. But it's not our buddy anymore. Alice twisted and warped him into a monstrous brute, where we give him the old yellow treatment and take him down, but with an axe instead of a gun. Never mind. Twisted Alice loses it and tries to kill Henry, but is then stabbed with a sword by another Alice, presumably Alison Pendle, although she is a perfect copy of Alice Angel, in a way, and accompanied by a cyborg-like Boris that goes by Tom, supposedly Thomas Connor, the old repairman associated with the Gent Company, and husband of Alison Pendle. The last and final chapter, Allison and Tom hold Henry hostage for who knows how long, not sure they can trust him, and keep him locked up in their hideout. Henry at one point mentions he recognizes the song she is singing, and she states that so does everyone else. She tries to give Henry the benefit of the doubt, but Tom doesn't trust us, or likes us, I guess, since he destroys our bacon soup after Allison leaves. Eventually, Allison gives Henry a piece of glass known as the Seeing Tool that reveals hidden messages around the studio and are left by what seems to be a familiar person, as the game reveals later on. During a conversation with Tom and Allison, she explains that the ink demon Bendy has found the hideout, and although she puts up some protest, they leave us behind. Thanks to the Seeing Tool, we find a hidden passage and escape to the barge not too far behind Tom and Allison. After we make it through the river of ink, we end up at the Lost Harbor, where I swear to God I thought I was going to start hearing banjos and get into that old Song of the South levels of discomfort during that old era of Disney. Luckily though, we were just attacked by a not dead, non-cultist Sammy Lawrence, and eventually saved by Tom and Allison, where after dealing with a wave of searchers and lost ones, Allison asks Henry to lead the way, which not one room later, we fall into a hole and find ourselves in the administration lobby, where we have to sneakily collect ink blobs a couple of times and not get found by the Twisted Butcher Gang. Oh yeah, these guys show up quite a bit throughout the game and are these reassembled twisted ink creatures based off their cartoon counterparts. After draining the path to the film vault that's supposedly to house a way to get rid of the ink demon, but we find the box empty. Allison and Tom meet up with us at the vault, where in a funny moment Allison devises a plan for us to go fetch some items for us to get the door open, and Boris just punches it open. I'll admit that was actually pretty good. As they reach the ink machine's entrance, Allison and Tom stay behind, saying they're not like us and they can't just cross the ink like we can, fearing that it would pull them back in. Henry finds the last recording from Joey Drew expressing his regret for everything and asking Henry to destroy Bendy, finding the item meant to finish off the ink demon, a film reel simply titled The End. Ink Bendy then slaps us through a wall, transforming into a huge beast that, no joke, fuck this fight. I know I'm jumping into gameplay, but this whole last part was a chore, and fucking annoying to get through because of how slow you move and how quickly Bendy does. I don't care that I could keep respawning all my progress was saved. This was just a slog to get through, an otherwise good game. Well, afterwards, we re-enter the throne room and place the film in that flashes colors, the same in Henry's previous visions, which finally destroy Bendy. The chapter ends with Henry arriving in Joey Drew's apartment that looks like the real world, and that's when we go in and have a talk with old Joey Drew, telling us to go visit the old workshop where, when we walk through the door, begins chapter 1 and roll credits. Which, after the credits, we hear a small child's voice asking for Uncle Joey to tell her another story, wrapping up Bendy and the Ink Machine.
Tell me another one, Uncle Joey.
Well, now, while I definitely got some good things to say about this game, it did kind of have some fucky parts of it, but I can't be too harsh on this game. It's an indie game, and it was their first try at something like this, and the cult following this game's got, you gotta love to see that, and the fact that the team got so much support from fans and merch, it's crazy, and I'm definitely looking forward to the sequel, just to see them address the issues that were in this game and see what it would be like to have the game completed from launch and not release over the course of a year episodically. So let's get into that. Being a first-person style game, you move around with the directional key, or WASD in my case, and look around with the mouse, interacting with the E key that is used from activating audio logs, switches, picking up things, and placing them for puzzle solving. A jump button used sometimes, but not for any real platforming sections or anything. and a run key, which I swear you move like 0.5 times faster from a lazily stroll to a slight speed walk, especially during the final fight, just felt like a slog. Although I will say that during a part when you were dealing with the projectionist, a part where I was running away from him and slogging through the ink trying to get to the stairs, it reminded me of nightmares I would have all the time of trying to run away from a creature, only instead of them catching the dream version of me and waking up, I was able to get away. It's nice the game does have some legitimate heart-racing and scary moments. In fact, the projectionist himself was a nice little scare. You can hardly hear him over your own steps, only seeing his light, and the minute you grab what you are looking for, he makes a mad dash to you, knowing you got it. The game is full of good mechanics like this, like backtracking through an area that seems safe, but then they change it slightly, or they make something appear and it makes you feel nervous and have this fear of the unknown. The game does have jump scares, which are, yeah, you're scared for the moment, but it's quickly gone and you're back to doing whatever task or what have you. I'm glad these are more used for cinematic portions and not a constant thing like other horror games, but they are nothing too intrusive. Apparently, throughout the studio, you consume cans of bacon soup, which I had no idea refilled your health, which I think I noticed in one chapter dealing with the carnival, but didn't know. I thought it was just for getting the achievement for collecting all within a level, which I'm not sure if I did because my Steam achievement was broken while playing, so what can you do? Just know that's one of the things to do if you see those tasty little cans lying around. The game does have some glitches that I noticed occurred while some were graphical, like whenever you break a Bendy cutout, I remember. During Chapter 3, Bendy was stuck on the floor, and what was initially scary with him was just annoying when I realized he was stuck on the floor I needed to progress on. I was initially just going to let him kill me to reset him, but luckily there was a stall and I could just hide to reset him that way. Just something I noticed. There wasn't any other game-breaking moments or anything. Another thing was that since I played this on Steam and I had the same issues a lot of other people apparently had after beating the game, my save file was not a finished file, instead was stuck at Chapter 5. Luckily, after troubleshooting, I was able to unlock the game's final bit, where after beating it, you can visit the archive, which is a nice little dev area where they show off the models and have little text from the developers, which is a nice little reward. It reminded me of like the museum in Ratchet & Clank 2, that did something similar to that. You can also go through the game again, this time with the Seers tool, and look through and see from all the previous chapters, and not just the last one, all the hidden messages, which was a nice feature for sure to incentivize another replay. This game for sure, though, is kinda one and done, though. There is the Seer tool for an extra gameplay, and going through one very particular part where you can take the demon path, or the angel path, but other than that, it was a nice, enjoyable time to play through. I would recommend the Steam version if you haven't picked this game up already, and to put the money in the developer's pocket as opposed to through the publisher's version, but I think the PlayStation, just because I haven't seen or heard any other bugs with that version, and for whatever reason, the PS4, Xbox, and Switch release, it's the highest rated for whatever reason. So you can't go wrong with either, and while I probably won't play this again anytime soon, I'm glad I played it through and am excited to see what the next big title is from the series. Well, time to check into a hotel. I fear we won't be leaving anytime soon. Go ahead and make sure you tap that subscribe button and smack that bell to know when the next video is out. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again real soon.